Hello and welcome to Did You Know Gaming Extra. Today we thought we'd take another look back at some more GameCube games, seeing as both you and we seem to have a fondness for them. It's been about a year since last time we did an extra on GameCube games, so what better place to refamiliarize ourselves than one of Nintendo's own offerings, which also happens to be the best-selling GameCube game ever, Super Smash Bros. Melee. The game had an impressive amount of content for the time, and a lot of material had to be altered between different regional releases. This not only led to mistakes, but also some use of artistic license. The name behind the Poker Float stage was itself born out of the localization process. The Japanese version of Melee refers to the stage as Pokemon Subspace, and the Pokemon are not implied to be balloons at all. Subspace was used in other Nintendo games like Super Mario Bros. 2 to mean a world that exists in an alternate dimension, usually with different rules. So the idea of the Pokemon being balloons was something that was completely made up by the game's English localization team, and wasn't the original intention. As an interesting aside, most of the Pokemon in the stage are ones that can actually be summoned through the Pokeball item in Melee, with the exception of one key Pokemon, Onix. It's unknown if Onix was originally planned to be summonable in Melee, but it's worth pointing out that Onix was summonable in Smash on the N64. Another notable stage name change that occurred during Melee's localization was the unlockable Mario 64 base stage called Rainbow Ride. The Japanese title is Rainbow Cruise, as the stage is closer to the ground than the stage it references from Super Mario 64. While the Rainbow Ride title would go on to be used in the North American release of Melee, the title Rainbow Cruise was used in the PAL version, leading to differences across the regions. The name would be contested again in Brawl, but notably, all English versions of Ultimate use Rainbow Cruise across all regions, thus cementing the US version of the title as the stage's official name in English. Now that we've given you a sample of what's to come, we'd like to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor. Surfshark VPN is one of the world's leading VPNs, and they're offering Did You Know Gaming viewers an 83% discount on a subscription to their VPN, as well as 3 months extra for free. A VPN not only encrypts your data and protects you from hackers and fraudsters trying to steal your information, but it lets you access content that's restricted by region, giving you access to TV shows, movies, and games you can't normally enjoy. And with Surfshark VPN, just one subscription will let you install and run Surfshark on an unlimited amount of devices at the same time, including PCs, Macs, mobile phones, smart TVs, and even games consoles. Surfshark VPN will never log your connection or store any of your data, and comes with 24/7 live customer support to make sure your experience is as safe and as easy as possible. It even comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee to make sure you're completely satisfied with your purchase. We've tried it ourselves, and we can attest to its ease of use and reliability. So to save 83% on a Surfshark VPN subscription and get 3 months extra usage for free, click the link at the top description or head over to surfshark.deals/DYKG and enter the promo code DYKG. Thanks for your patience, and back to the trivia. One GameCube game that saw significant changes from its inception was one of the system's fan favorites, Luigi's Mansion. Although we've spoken about this game a handful of times before, there's some secrets we've yet to discuss. In an interview with Luigi's Mansion director Hideki Kono described some aspects of the game's original direction. The game was originally going to be set around a big house or even apartment complex, but this was switched up and the setting became something like a dollhouse. The team started experimenting with Mario characters being on a TV set using a dollhouse backdrop, and eventually shifted the focus onto Luigi. There was an idea to set the game within a ninja mansion or Japanese-style house, but the team ultimately decided to settle on a European-style building, which was also reminiscent of some older mansions in the United States. There were also prairie and desert areas in the game when it was using a generic Mario theme, but these were cut when the mansion idea took hold. As soon as the mansion concept was decided, the blueprint of the house, a 3-story structure with a basement, was already set in stone, and the design conversation became about how to keep the mansion varied. The team put a huge staircase in the lobby, a bathroom on each floor, a training room, and a music room, all to make sure the mansion had a Western feel. Another idea that was cut was for an underground cave to extend the geographical environment. And the game even had an RPG-inspired system which upgraded stages after certain actions. But this was cut so that the team could focus on the vacuum mechanics. Another beloved Mario game on the Cube is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. And again, we briefly covered some of the game's out-of-bounds secrets in a Paper Mario video we did not too long ago, but we neglected to mention quite an interesting off-screen tidbit. It seems that within Thousand Year Door, for some unseen reason, Mario, Peach, and Bowser have crucial code attached to them that the game needs to have loaded at all times. So much so that if a scene in the game doesn't have one of these characters present, it will break. The title's designers circumvent this limitation by having Mario, Peach, or Bowser out of the camera's view if they aren't actively taking part in a scene. This is even true of the game's introduction, where Mario can be found by pulling the camera back to about 20% zoom. The same can be said for the scenes of Sir Grodus talking to his henchmen, where Peach will be about the same distance out of shot to the south. Yet another GameCube Mario title that has some interesting secrets is Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. This is one of the few Mario games that actually released in North America before Japan, meaning the Japanese version of the game has a fair amount of improvements over the Western release. In Japan, the game is known as Mario Golf Family Tour and features many small changes that you might expect, such as measuring putting distances and wind speed in meters and meters per second instead of feet and miles per hour. There are also several font changes, and the colors were tweaked for messages like nice shot and excellent. The most significant improvement, however, was a coding overhaul on how things in the game are processed. CPU characters calculate their shots a lot faster than in the American release, and cycle through clubs faster as well. Various menu transitions also move much more quickly. A few oversights were also corrected from the American release, such as the hole-in-ones on par 4 and par 5 holes being mistakenly announced as an albatross. For some reason, the method of unlocking the ace-level CPU player difficulty was made different in every region. In the original American release, it's unlocked by beating every star tournament a single time with every non-star character. This meant that players had to win 102 star tournaments, which was honestly a bit too much work for the reward. In Japan, all the player had to do was beat Bowser in his character match. And in Europe, players just had to win the Bowser Star Championship. One more GameCube gem that has what you might call unnecessary regional changes is Baton Kaitos, Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean. Baton Kaitos has a unique setting and a fairly unique combat system to boot. It utilizes a turn-based, card-based system that uses magical cards known as Magnus, which absorb the essence of real-world objects. These cards containing items and objects can then be used in battle. Interestingly, 28 of the cards are changed in the international release, likely to make the purpose of the cards more clear to Westerners. And although some make perfect sense, like swapping out obscure Japanese dumplings for shish kebab, some seem a bit pointless. One that stands out the most to us is swapping out edamame beans for peanuts, instead of just renaming the card Beans. From one turn-based RPG to another, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness was a hit amongst fans, but is scarcely talked about these days, likely due to its releasing towards the end of the GameCube's lifespan. This is a shame, because as well as being a great game, it has a decent amount of interesting tidbits. When players start their adventure in Pokemon XD, they set out with just a level 10 EV. However, there is evidence in the code that this isn't always what the developers had planned. Using action replay codes, it's possible to swap out the level 5 Eevee for 2 starter Pokemon, a level 26 Jolteon and a level 30 Vaporeon, which are within the game's code. This would have lined up quite well with Pokemon Colosseum, where players started out with a level 25 Espeon and a level 26 Umbreon. This also has other implications. Since these two starters are nearly 20 levels higher than Eevee, the levels of Pokemon throughout the entire game would have been proportionately higher as well. And that's not all. The game has another unused Pokemon of sorts. The Pokemon Bonsley was first introduced in XD as part of the game's story, but wasn't a truly playable Pokemon. However, Bonsley can be added to the player's party through hacking and will be fully functional. The only setback is that Bonsley can't evolve into Sudowoodo, likely because it was never expected to be possible in the first place. Another game with a cult following for the Cube is Animal Crossing. As you might recall, the title had a handful of emulated NES titles that could be played by obtaining in-game items, which are essentially NES consoles with unchangeable cartridges inside them. There's also a generic NES console item with no cartridge inside that can be purchased from Red. This item was originally thought to be unplayable and purely decorative, as it would display the message, "I want to play my NES, but I don't have any software," when the player interacted with it. However, it was recently discovered that this item actually scans the GameCube's memory card for special files that contain NES ROMs. Security researcher James Chambers found the unique feature while searching through Animal Crossing's code, messing around with the debug menus and seeing how various items function. Chambers experimented with the feature and was eventually able to use it to play Mega Man, Pinball, and Battletoads off his GameCube memory card through the in-game emulator. Although the function may simply be a leftover from testing, it's speculated by some that Nintendo were planning to use this feature to distribute NES games. Nintendo could have sold preloaded memory cards full of NES ROMs, or even given them away as prizes. There's actually some precedent for this, as Nintendo sold versions of Animal Crossing packaged with memory cards that unlocked unique items for players. And now for possibly the most cult title on our list, having sold fewer than an estimated 390,000 copies, it's Chibi Robo. The game was originally being developed by Just Skip and not Nintendo, but it was still intended for a GameCube release. The game's storyline back then was different. You needed to train Chibi Robo to get home and avoid the burglars that were after him. The gameplay was going to be similar to a point-and-click adventure. Early videos show Chibi Robo in a lab of some sort, running around trying to collect batteries to raise his own internal battery. It seems that Chibi Robo would have also been able to evolve itself, as we can see from Robo upgrades in one of the concept arts. There were also other beta activities like pushing things over, moving objects, and other ideas to get batteries and other things. However, after a few years, Skip gave up on the project. Nintendo, though, was still interested in the idea of the game and saved it from development hell by building on Skip's project. Nintendo reworked the engine into its current action-adventure style, gave it new environments and a new storyline. And now it's time for this episode's random piece of trivia. Today, we're talking about Resident Evil 2, and specifically, the original PlayStation version of the game. The title's PS1 release was originally intended to be published on just a single CD. However, an oversight was discovered at the last minute relating to the size of the game's audio programming. It was too big for the disc. Though it could have been possible to reprogram how the audio worked so it could fit into a single 700 megabyte disc, development was already behind schedule. And so the game's developers thought it was too late to put yet more work into the audio and made the decision to put the game on 2 discs. Unfortunately, this meant higher manufacturing and shipping costs on an already tight budget. The game's director, Hideki Kamiya, has attributed this decision and error to his youth and recklessness at that point in his career. Funnily enough though, the fact that Resident Evil 2 was 2 discs on the PS1 just made the N64 port seem that much more impressive at the time. Did you also know that Nintendo created a version of Peach's castle on GameCube that wound up never being used in-game but did appear in a tech demo? Or that Paper Mario the Origami King was originally planned to have more partner characters than what would appear in the game? For more facts, check out our videos on Nintendo tech demos and Nintendo Switch games. Beans! I choose you!